Hello and welcome to Entertainment Tech News. I'm your host, Amar Santos. Now, as you can see, we're not our usual studio in Brooklyn. Because of the whole global pandemic and countrywide lockdown, all the faculty and students at City Tech stuck at home. But that isn't going to stop us from broadcasting our show. To talk about the shift to online, we have Entertainment Technology Department Chair, John McCullough. Welcome to the show, Professor.
Hi, thanks for having me.
How you doing?
Good. Keeping busy. There's a lot to do right now, and everything we try to do is a little bit slower, a little bit harder when we're working from home.
Completely understandable. So, Professor, the reason we had you on the show was because we felt that you would have some really good insight into how the department would be changing this semester because of the shift to online.
Sure.
So, we got a few questions for you. So, the first question is, how do you think that the pandemic has affected the department, and how do you think that the department is going to change because the department is very hands-on?
Well, this has been a very big change for the department. Like you said, the nature of the work has completely changed. We're a really hands-on, like team-based, collaborative department, and it's really hard to be like hands-on and working on a team right now. And we have about 325 majors in the department. We offer about 80 class sections each semester, and there are 60 people that work for the department between faculty and staff and CLTs. And we're only a small to medium department at City Tech. So there's a lot of moving parts that we need to get right to make it all fit together, function as a department, and meet our goals. And COVID has disrupted all of those things. You asked, what has the department done to make everything work? Well, this is part of it, right? This show. A lot of the late night shows have been, broadcasting from their host's house. And we decided to move all of our tech production shows to be fully remote. We've helped connect students to resources at the college through advisement. There is support at the college for devices, internet access, things like that to make sure the students can still participate when they're online. Faculty have been attending training seminars about online teaching and learning, and we've been adjusting course materials for online use. Some faculty have been setting up remote labs, recording video demonstrations. So we've really got kind of as much of that hands-on experience as we can replicate remotely. And I hope it's working out. It's certainly not what we want to be doing, but this is the situation we're in, and we're going to make the best of it.
So, Professor, in your experience, do you think that the students have adjusted to this new learning format, or do you think that they prefer going back to the classroom?
Well, I would say students are generally rolling with the punches pretty well and showing a lot of resilience. But I think it's clear that most students would prefer to take classes in person if they could. In-person classes are a lot better for building community, better for teamwork. And remote classes, in particular asynchronous classes, allow students more time for thought and reflection before replying to discussions. So some like deep thinking questions are better in asynchronous remote classes. But in a team-based collaborative department, that team building and community aspect is really important. I can tell you that our enrollment is down about 10% compared to last fall. And I think this is a combination of students not wanting to take classes online, students not being able to come back for, health reasons or money reasons, and probably some students who aren't sure if the live entertainment industry is where they want to be right now in this environment. But how about you? Have your classes been going? Have you adjusted?
Okay, so in my opinion, I would say it's inconsistent at best. Personally, in this program, everything's been adjusting pretty well given the circumstances. But other classes that are doing asynchronous learning in like different subjects, like for example, science, the fact that we can't go in for labs and other demonstrations, it definitely affects how we are learning.
Yeah. And, we have a bit of an advantage in the entertainment tech department because, not all of our faculty are, audio video professionals, right? But we have some show experience, we have some technical expertise, and we can adapt to these things a little more easily. And not everyone has that, so it is definitely a big challenge across the college.
So a question that personally I've been thinking about myself: how have culmination projects been affected? So the students that are developing their projects now, are they still allowed to be practical, or do they have to be conceptual going forward?
Well, there's not one answer to that question, because everyone's project is something that they're proposing for their own interests. So a project that, if you want to write and produce some music, if you want to make a video, those are the kinds of things that we can actually still do basically the same way that you would, without COVID. Your exact layout of how you're working together with people on your, in the studio or on location might be a little bit different for a film crew. But it's not as big of an adjustment as might need to be made if you wanted to have like a concert and have a bunch of people in the same place at the same time. So depending on what your goal is for your project, you might need to wait if you have time before you graduate so that you have a chance of being able to do it in person. You might need to modify it. So, if you would wanted to do a concert, well, maybe you can still do the planning process, but we can't actually produce it right now. Or you may want to completely change your idea to something that, we can do practically right now.
So Professor, in terms of the current pandemic, do you think the upcoming semesters are also going to be online, or do you think that we can go to the classrooms sooner rather than later?
Well, the college is currently planning for the spring semester to be about 85% remote courses. Exactly how that will be implemented remains to be seen. I can tell you that we were talking about this just this morning at the School of Tech and Design Dean's meeting. And there are, dedicated people at the college working to help solve this problem. But we have a lot of unknowns left, and there's a lot of hard work that we still need to do to make this a reality.
Mm-hmm. So as a final question, do you think that we've learned enough from this experience where we're going to be ready for just in case another situation happens like this in the future?
So yes and no. So on a small scale, one of my goals when we made the switch in the spring was to not waste effort on things that would only be useful for the spring or only be useful while we're remote. I wanted us to, spend time investing in resources that we could still use once we were back on campus. So, even before the pandemic, John Huntington's entertainment control systems class has been a hybrid course where it's partially remote and partially in person. So they had 3 hours of lab time in the week and then 1 hour of like asynchronous independent work. I think as our lab schedules get more crowded and we have all of this remote access capability built up, we can record lectures and have remote work assignments where some of our courses that are a mixture of lecture and lab could actually be scheduled partially remote, partially asynchronous. And then the time that we do spend in the lab can be more focused on the actual hands-on lab work we all want to be doing. And it means it makes it easier for us to make our schedule. If a class that is normally 4 hours can be scheduled for 3 hours in the lab, that gives us more time to either run more classes or have more open lab time for students to do work and finish projects. So, on that level, the details of doing remote instruction in the future, yeah, we can do those things again. But the bigger picture of what we should have learned from this experience, I'm not so sure about. I mean, I think the big lesson is that human life is valuable and fragile and interconnected. And if we don't learn that lesson, I don't know how we're going to adequately, move forward as a society. We live in the richest country in the world, and many people here were forced to choose between, paying rent, buying medicine, going back to a job and risking their health, or, staying home and being healthy. People are scared about, having to make those kinds of choices when if we as a society decided to take care of each other, it would not have to be that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, Professor, I wanted to thank you for coming onto the show. We really do appreciate your insight into this topic. We appreciate your words on everything when it comes to how we're going to adjust going forward. Did you have anything else you wanted to say to the audience before we signed off?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind people that it is not too late to fill out your census. Go to 2020census.gov. The census information is how the federal government apportions money for federal programs. It's how they determine how many representatives each state has. So it's really important. So again, 2020census.gov. Go fill it out if you haven't yet. And also, I know you're talking about this next week again, but it is not too late to register to vote in New York. The deadline is Friday, October 9th to vote in the general election. You can go to vote.org and get the information you need for how to register. You can register online in New York. So please participate, have your voice heard. The people that are going to be making decisions and responding to crises in the future are going to be chosen at this in this election in November. So make sure that the people who are making these decisions are hearing from you and participate.
Well, thank you for that, Professor. And I wanted to thank everyone in the audience for joining us today. Thank you for tuning into Entertainment Tech News. Please join us next week on October 1st, where our other host, Eric, will be discussing voting and how your voice matters. Thank you again for joining us. This is Amar Santos signing off.